Hey, this is Crystal Beasley in Embodied Reality. Today we are at GDC 2017 on the floor. In the midst of all this chaos, I had a chance to sit down with Owen Harris, the creator of Deep, a meditation experience that uses a sensor strapped around the player's belly to allow them to control their avatar by inhaling and exhaling.
I've always really liked VR. I tried it first in a trade show, not a million miles away from this, in Washington, D.C. I think it was probably somewhere around 89 or 90. And it was an early arcade cabinet VR thing. And it was really good. It was really good. And then I tried it again at home in this shopping center installation that they had there. So I think in that year I tried VR like twice, and I was really excited about its transporting power. So then when the Oculus Kickstarter got announced, I was like, boom, I'm in. I've been waiting 20 years for this. And I knew that what I wanted to make was kind of sanctuary spaces, meditation spaces, places for me to hang out. So I started building them straight away, even before my dev kit arrived. And when the dev kit got there, I just built these kind of star fields and void-like spaces that I just found very comforting. I like the sense of space and expansion around me. And before long, I found myself meditating in there. And after that, then I started wondering, well, I wonder if I can incorporate my breathing exercises into this. So that was the first version, was a space around you that was about 4 meters in diameter, that kind of grew and contracted with your breath. So the walls were essentially breathing with you. And it was kind of cool.
Did it blow up like a balloon?
Yeah. But thinking about it more and just letting it sit with me, it became very obvious that I should do the experience as an underwater one. Sorry, this is a slightly rambling story, but I learned scuba diving from some meditation instructors. There were meditation and scuba diving instructors. And
Were you learning it together?
No.
Okay. It just happened that they were meditating.
They were, yoga instructors. And I was already like meditating pretty regularly at the time. But I don't know if you or any of your viewers have ever gone scuba diving, but it's a really interesting experience that when you breathe in, you move upwards, and when you breathe out, you move downwards. And that's the way you control your kind of y-axis in scuba diving.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's deadly. And the first really good scuba diving experience I had, I am what they called an air pig, in that I consume air very quickly. I have very big lungs. I'm a big fella. But they kept trying at me to regulate my breath, slow down my breath, breathe more deeply and more slowly. And I had this one exquisitely perfect moment where I was gliding at what felt like tremendous speed over this amazing geometric structure that was the reef. And I saw this school of fish, and I wanted to get closer to them, so I exhaled out and I kind of sunk down and swooped, like just gliding on top of it. And then I was a bit scared because I was too close, and I breathed in and popped back up again. And it was an electrically perfect moment. And I put 2 and 2 together. I was like, that's what we got to do. That's what we got to do. So that was in maybe late 2013, and I started to put together some very basic things. I am artistically basic, and so I put some stuff together with squares and cubes, and I managed to get something okay working. And I brought it over to a little playful event in the Netherlands called the Playful Arts Festival. Amazing festival run by Zoraida Butter over there. And it's there I was connected with Pauline Drescher, who connected me with my collaborator now, Nikki Smith. And myself and Nikki have been building the experience in partnership for the last 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
So, breath is one of the least appreciated of the 7 elements of embodiment. Usually, people are relying on visuals.
Yeah. I think it's crazy that people don't do more work with the breath, by the way. Like,
it's incredibly powerful, right?
Yeah, it's the easiest thing. So my game is ridiculous in that you need a high-end computer, a virtual reality headset, a custom piece of hardware, and you need to be in the place where it's being shown. But what is wonderful about it is that we can teach people techniques that they do not require the game for. So just to show them the power of this technique, which obviously we're accentuating and expanding with virtual reality, but this is the technology that exists within all of our bodies and has amazing impact on stress and anxiety. I have problems with depression and anxiety, and it's the breath that I return to most often as a way to move through that a bit more gracefully.
What kind of long-term effects, like, do you hear from people that have stories about what has happened to them after they took off the headset?
When I started showing it publicly, the most surprising thing was the people crying. Like, a significant number of people kind of weeping after the experience, and a lot of people insistent on embracing me or any other team members that were around at the time. And that was a shocking and surprising outcome. Also get a lot of people they're just very quiet after it, you know? They're very quiet and I guess a bit vulnerable, actually, is maybe the right word. Now, I should say, it doesn't have the same effect on everybody. Some people just don't interact well with it. Some people can see that it's interesting, and this is an interesting application of the technology. But for about 30% of the people, they have a very strong reaction, a strong emotional reaction, and they commonly talk about wanting to live there. You know, this is where they want to live, and yeah, it's beautiful.
So, what happens when people replay it? Do they go deeper each time that they play it? Is it something that you sort of learn and you relax into more?
Well, that's interesting, and this is one of the own questions that we're wrestling with at the moment, because the way the economics of the project have been is that it's usually for single use, you know? It's usually for an art show or for a science show. And people try it once and they have the experience and then they go away, and maybe I tell them, you know, this is something you can use if you're having trouble sleeping or if you're a little worried about something. But we're trying to build in systems now that will make the world change the more you come back. So one of the ideas that we're playing with at the moment is the first time you play it, the landscape will be a little bit sparse. But as you move through it time and time again, you'll kind of plant different structures and objects, and it will kind of become personalized to you over your time there.
So my back history is I was an experience designer for my whole career, but my interest in embodiment goes back to when I was 15. I didn't know it's called embodiment then, but I joined a fringe religion because they spoke in tongues, and it's actually something that you have to learn how to do.
Yeah.
And I left it a decade later, believing that experience was incredibly profound and emotional, and there was a lot of tears and crying, and sometimes it was very energetic and euphoric, and sometimes it was very profound and sad, but you get that like washed clean feeling.
Yeah.
And the sensations didn't really change, but you get better at it. So that's, I'm bringing my own experience in that question.
Yeah. I think those I would class those religious experiences cathartic. This is the wrong way to put it, but you kind of dehumanize a little bit. You kind of get to some sort of primal layer, and in that you can release things that are there. I think VR has tremendous potential to do that. But also I feel it might be over-engineering the problem. I think you can also get that in the gym or doing a run.
That's the first three elements are kinesthetic,
Yeah.
body pose, motion, and exertion.
Yeah.
Because I've spent 7 years looking at all the different ways that people have intense experiences in their body and deconstructing what the layers are so that you can look at it from this abstracted way and then recombine those elements. In the same way that chefs would combine the flavor elements to make an infinite number of dishes, right?
Yeah.
That's my thesis.
That sounds amazing. I would love to hear more about your work.
I will send it over.
Yeah.
I just recorded the episode that lays out my history with speaking in tongues, and then I've done a lot of other things. And it's really important for me to experience as many of these as possible for myself. Not because I'm the default human, but I want it to be my job to go around and do as many of these things as possible, and then be able to unpack them in such a way that other people who are building VR rooms can actually push what the medium is capable of. Because if we just make Halo, the medium will fail.
I've been really, really disappointed with VR DC here and just how conservative the medium has gotten. With the exception of Vive Jaffe's talk, which was an outstanding political statement which contained both kind of technical how-tos as well as a political call to action, as well as a really important artist statement. Amazing talk. I would encourage everyone to look at it on the Vault. Aside from that, it was very, very dull. And yeah, it's been, did Robert Yang say it, that VR has been gentrified and it's happened really quickly? That beautiful Wild West moment of the DK1 where just the weirdos and artists were making these strange little things. But we can push back against that and we can show that this is what VR is meant for. It is meant for... It's not meant to replace an Xbox. It's meant to complement or be the accessible version of a walk in the forest or going to an art gallery or going to the theater or, a strange experimental performance. That's what I'm into with it.
Are there any other experiences that you think I should check out? I feel like this little crew of weirdos is pretty small, and I want to meet you all.
Definitely, Sound Self is definitely it's very much. I feel a great kinship with Robin, and I think we are somehow connected in this work. His talk at GDC was an outstanding expression of what it is we're trying to do here. I think it would be very interesting for you to see that. I think you should definitely look at the work of the Behavioral Science Institute and Isabella in particular. She is one of the smartest, best people who I've ever met in my life, and she is weaponizing games to address the mental health epidemic that's raging through our society. I've said this several times at this festival, but we are in the moment of mental health, the equivalent of physical health before the discovery of soap. We have not found soap yet, or at least it's not widespread. And this is a heartbreaking city to be in, where you can really see the coal face of that. And I'm really
manifestations that you see. What do you mean? Like, what does that look like to you?
on both ends of the spectrum. So obviously the horrifying poverty that I see every time I come to San Francisco is unlike anything I've ever seen in the West and indeed the East as well. In my travels, I've never seen poverty like San Francisco, and it's heartbreaking every time I come here. And then on the other side of that spectrum, there's a compulsive, performative nature to the upper class here, who are constantly. It doesn't even when you bump into people at 2 a.m. in a nightclub, they're like pitching their business to you, and I'm just like, this is weird. Why? I have no money. Are you just practicing on me, or are you trying to get something? And it does seem very strange to me. And I guess those two ends of the spectrum are an expression of that to me. Yeah.
So, what have you learned about breath since you started making music?
It's really reinforced things that I knew worked for me, worked for other people. So I was very lucky that in a time of crisis, I met my meditation teacher, Jaffe. He taught me a number of breathing techniques that just helped kind of not solve the problem, but certainly offset it and diminish it. And they've always been really effective for me. So the main thing that I've learned with Deep is that it is effective for other people as well. And that this is, although it seems very unnatural at first, people quickly sink into it and they get around just fine with it. It's great.
Do you have any advice for game builders or how they would incorporate breath?
I think the most useful piece of advice I can say is that unless they are wildly passionate about incorporating breath, they shouldn't. I think they should make whatever they're wildly passionate about. I think that's the most useful thing people could do. I think everybody's got a thing that they're slightly obsessed with, or they're slightly fetishistic about, or that if you kind of spoke to them about it at a dinner party, they wouldn't shut up about it for 2 hours. If they have one of those, that's what they should make a game about. If they're going to go in the direction of the breath, I think the most important thing that they could do is spend a lot of time outside of computers and design spaces, just doing breathing exercises themselves, playing around with different techniques, whether it's pranayama yoga or the kind of basic new wave mindfulness, whatever we're calling it, and just trying it out, see if it works for them. You know, if you're having trouble sleeping, just focus on your breathing for a while. See if that's helpful.
Okay, last question. What do you suspect is true about VR, but you can't prove it yet?
I suspect that we can facilitate a radical wave of creativity and intimacy, the likes of which our society hasn't seen in decades or maybe even centuries. I suspect that we can build tools that are as easy to use as Instagram, that will allow people to make vast, expansive and expressive works of art that are very easy for other people to experience. And that's what I suspect, and that's what I hope for.
Is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't?
Not that I can think of.
Awesome. I'm really excited about your project.
Thank you so much.